Hi class, so this is the demo video on how to create a final portfolio in the book mode within Lightroom. So the first thing you want to do, as I mentioned in class, you want to select the photos that you are going to use for your final portfolio, and then you want to sequence them. So remember that you can move them around manually. So this is how I decided I wanted to sequence them. I tried to space out some portraits with some non-portraits in between. So there you go, that's my sequence. And I made a collection under my class that says Final Portfolio because that way they're all in one folder, they're in one collection. So now the next thing I'm going to do is select all of the photos, and I am then going to enter into my book mode up in the top right. So when I clicked on the book mode, it automatically put them into this layout, and yours may look a little bit different. It may have put it into a different layout. So the first thing I actually want to do is clear the book. And now I have a blank slate here. The other thing I want to mention is if you did not put your photos into a collection, what may happen is that you have a film strip of many, many photos because it's pulling from your entire Lightroom. And that can be confusing because then you have to make sure you have the right one selected, etc. So again, I highly recommend making a collection first so that they're the only photos you're working with. So back to our book here. There's although this is an auto setting, I'm not a fan of certain autos, this one is great because it can create layouts very quickly and then populate your pictures that you've selected. So if we look at the top right here, the first thing is the book setting. We can see that it says Blurb Photo Book. That's the company that I've mentioned before where they actually create really beautiful photo books for an affordable cost. And actually you can see that they even give you an estimate on Lightroom, which is great. Now this one's relatively expensive right now, but we can start to go through these different settings and we could actually pick a different book. So I'm going to stay on Blurb Photo Book for now. And I'm going to switch up some of these settings. So instead of landscape, I'm going to do a square book, a small square book. And it's going to ask me to change the size and layout, and yes, you're going to do that. And you can see things start to change here. Then yes, I want a soft cover, and I'm going to actually change it to just some standard paper, and then I'm going to say that if I don't mind the logo being there, and it dropped down to price. So that's great. That's a much cheaper option. And there's even cheaper options if you go into the Blurb magazine or the trade book. But for now, I'm just going to stick with this one. So this is what I'm going to do for this book. And before I even get further, what I want to do is create a saved book. So when I click this, it's actually going to create a book underneath my portfolio collection. So I'm going to name this my final portfolio, and I'm going to let it be put inside this folder. And I'm going to say create. And then you'll see that it automatically populated again, which is fine, we can change that. But now you'll see this little book underneath the final portfolio. And that's great because if we were to ever go into a different setting, we can always go back to this saved book then and exactly where you left off. So now that I have my my book formatted to the size I want, to the, oh, it changed it. Let's go back to small squares. Change layout. And standard, yeah, that's good. Okay. So now what I want to do is actually change the layout. So I'm going to go into, just like our contact sheets, you can create a new preset here. So first I'm going to clear this layout. And if I click on the auto layouts, there's a bunch of different ones. You'll see on my screen I have even more because I've created different layouts. So if I just choose one of the standard ones that they have, left blank, right one photo, and then I hit auto layout, you'll see that it fills it with that layout. And what it's actually doing is stretching the photos so that they are on the entire page. And I'm not the biggest fan of that. I'd rather have some borders. So we're going to change that. The other thing I want to point out is that you can see these gray squares. Those are some page bleeds and guides that you can turn on or off. So those are good guides to let you know, though, that this is a little bit of a what I would call kind of sketchy zone. If you're unfamiliar with printing, there's what's called the bleed line and kind of this safe area. So if we turn the page bleed on, see that gray area there? You don't want anything in that area, or it may have to what they call bleed off the page. And then this is the text safe area, where this is where they recommend putting any sort of text. Okay, so you can, I'm going to keep the bleed safe on right now, and I'm going to turn off the text. So I'm not using text in this book yet. So now what I'm going to do is, like I said, change this preset. So I am going to go Edit Auto Layout Preset. And you'll see this dialog box, and what's great about this is it's very straightforward and simple. So right now, the preset is left blank, right one photo. The left is blank, and the right side, there's one big photo, full bleed photo. And I want to change it up, so I'm actually going to do, I'm going to keep my left page as blank, but I'm going to change this right side so that the photos are, let's see, I like this one. There's a good amount of, or maybe this one, there's a good amount of border. And the other thing I want to make sure I do is I want to make sure my photos fit. So instead of doing fill, which would mean that the photographs all are zoomed in to make sure that they fill this entire box. So I want to make sure they're fit because I've already cropped my images and I don't want them to be resized. So instead of clicking Update Preset, I'm going to then save my current setting as a new preset. And I'm going to say left blank, right bordered. And you can create, I think I might already have one, so I'm going to do V2. You can name it whatever you want, but this is just how I do it so I know for future books. All right, now I'm going to hit done, and nothing happened. But that's because you have to clear the layout first. So clear, and then auto layout, and now I have a very different book. And you can see what's happening though is because I have vertical and horizontal photographs, these photographs, the horizontal, look very small. So what I can actually do is click on this page and I can say that I want to change just this layout so that it matches about the same size, border size, as the other ones. So this is what it's currently set to, and I'm going to change it to this one. So now you can see that the borders around my page are equal on the horizontal and the vertical. So you can do that for all of your horizontals. That one looks... See, then sometimes you're going to have photos that are cropped at a different size, and you may need to even pick a different one. So I may need this one so that my borders match. Again, because this is a different crop ratio than this one. You can see this is a much longer ratio, and this is a 4:5 ratio. So we'll do that to all of mine. This looks like a 4:5 ratio. So we'll match all of those photographs. That one may need to get bigger as well. So you can see, you just play around with the photos. Now the other thing is you can then go into each photograph and we can zoom in here. Boop, boop. So this is what we call a spread. When we have two pages next to each other, they then create one spread. So on this spread, I have my left blank and my right photo. And if I wanted to, I could then go into this photograph and I could adjust just this page. So maybe I do want it to zoom in, and maybe I want to only zoom, oops, maybe I only want to show the cake in this photograph. Now remember that you have to have a very good quality photo in order to zoom in on these so that it doesn't get pixelated or anything like that. So remember that you need to be aware of those kind of things. But now I'm going to zoom back out. So here's my book. I have my logo. I have my front cover, which I could change. I kind of like the photo the way it is right now because that's the way I set it up in the book. You are not required to have a front cover or back cover for this final portfolio project, but you are more than welcome to. Just so you know, when you export it, it will create two different PDFs then. Okay, so some of the other tools I want to show you based on your preference. Remember, this is one perfectly good book, but you can always change it to a different setting or a different layout if you'd like. So one thing is you can turn on page numbers, and you can see it just puts a little page number in the corner, and you can say where you want it, so top corner, on the side. It's all up to you. These tools are all, none of these are required. You can put page numbers if you'd like. And then let's see what else. Oh, the other thing I want to mention, this blank page here, if you remember, when you're looking at a book, there's always what's known as the end page. It's that first page that nothing is actually printed on, because then it has to be white in order to be on the inside of the front cover and the back cover. So there's going to be one here and there's going to be one here. So remember that this is always your first page, and technically your first spread is the second one. So I just wanted to point that out real quick. Okay, so the other thing that you can put on is text. So right now my text is grayed out because I don't have it as part of the layout. But if I go up to my layout and let's pick a different one. So let's do one with text. So remember, it won't do anything unless you clear the layout and do auto layout. So now here's one where it has text in there. And if I zoom in on some of the spreads, it'll say photo text. And that's just showing the example of where it would be. So I can go down to, and I just have to actually click on this. So now that I've clicked on it, you can go into your editing the text and what font it is, which there's lots of different fonts. Click. There we go, we can see that. We'll do Roboto. Okay, but remember that if it says photo text, it's going to show up on your page. So you just want to make sure that you change it, or you Untitled 03 2020. So you can keep it there, you can move it around, but remember that it's going to try and keep it in that photo safe zone. So if I turn on my guides, where'd they go? Text photo safe, it's going to try and keep it in this text safe zone, because beyond that it won't print right. So if you were to send it to print. So I'm going to keep that on, and then you can rename things, you can change it, and we can make it bigger. We can make it bigger. Wow, that looks terrible. But just to show you what you can do. Okay, so if you would like to add text, you can. Why are you not getting smaller? Sometimes these things can be quirky, as with everything. The one thing I do want to say is that you want to keep it consistent. So if you were to change the font to this size and to this different, to Roboto, then I would change it for all of them, because you want to be consistent throughout your book. The other way that you can also add text is, let's say you wanted to start your book with some sort of paragraph. You can actually change the layout. So I'll do that again. So if I go into my layout here, I can scroll through different options to put on this page, and you can see that you can put multiple photos, or have just text. But for this, I want you to have one photo per page or two max, but for the most part we're going to keep one photo. So this is where I could take one of these photos and I could drag and drop it into this box and it'll format it, and then this is my text box, and I can say this is a bio about the person in this book. And we can zoom in on that to see my spelling errors. And maybe you want to do that. Maybe this is a personal story about someone, or maybe you want to add a poem or something. That's up to you. So this is how you create a book. And last but not least, you would then export it to PDF. Okay, so this is coming up because, and this may happen to you if one of your photos is not connected, it's not going to show up, which, let's see which photo, HCIC, probably this one with, yep. So I'm going to remove that from my book, and I'm actually going to remove these pages too. And we can leave that text. So I'm gonna repeat my photo. I'm gonna do 2 photos of the same, but I want it to match the other one. So let's do that guy. Oh, it's full bleed. That guy. Okay, so this is what my book's gonna look like. You can see that the text is gonna come out in these funky spots, but we'll see what it looks like. So we're gonna export. Yeah, I know. Oh, because it's on the cover. Okay, so always pay attention to your messages. We'll just do lots of this photo. There we go. All right, export. So now I'm not having any issues, and I'm going to say demo book V2, and I'm going to save it to my desktop. Okay, so it'll export the book, and I'm going to pause until it's done so you don't have to watch it. My book is done, so I'm actually going to minimize here, and let's see, let me find my photo book here. Now I want you to pay attention to what's happening here. So this is my photo book, and you can see that it's only showing 1 page at a time. That's the default for the Adobe Preview or Adobe PDF viewer, because usually we view documents 1 page at a time. But don't worry, it didn't export incorrectly. All you have to do is go up to your view mode, and you want to do page display and 2-page view. Now remember though that this was my page with an end page, so that's technically, there's 1 page before that. And then all you have to do is show cover page and 2-page view. So there we go, now my book is correct. So that's my first page because that's technically my cover, or my first image, and then here's all of my spreads, and they match what we saw before. And that's my book. And that's it. So it's really easy. Okay?